Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Jeff.
It's a brand new day and brand new music.
I know, we picked out a new peppy intro song.
I don't know if it's peppy or not, but it definitely is a little bit different. We had several recommendations that we should have things pick up just a little bit in the beginning, and so we thought we'd give it a try. If you like it, let us know. Jeffrey at JEFFERY at streakingmastery.com or
Jamie, JAMI at streakingmastery.com.
Are you
I feel
ready
like
for...
we're doing the back at
We
the
are.
beginning.
Are you ready for the month of March?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. I'm ready for the month of March, too. Do you know why?
Why?
Because we're talking about luck.
Yay.
Luck is our theme for this particular month.
I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm excited about it too. In fact, you had a couple of articles sent to you, as did I, from Laurel, one of our fantastic streakers out there. And we're going to base some of our information or what we talk about on those articles, as well as other things that we've thought about along the way.
Right.
How am I doing? Does it sound like we're moving right along?
We're moving right along.
Yeah.
Just a little side note. I think we should make the intro just a little bit shorter.
What do you mean as far as a little shorter?
I got sick of the da-da-da-da-da. Anyway.
Really? You got sick of it. I mean, it was like
just at the end.
Like it was a total of 50 seconds. And you were done with it.
Are you saying I need to work on my patience?
No, not at all.
And my attention span?
Isn't that what streaking is all about patience?
Yes.
Hey, fellow streakers, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Welcome to our
little banter that we've got going on. It is in the morning, and we are doing this a little bit earlier than usual.
Yes. And I'm excited, like you said, to be talking about how to make our own luck.
Because when you look at luck, it's still going. Can you hear it
I was
a little bit in the background?
See? Just go ahead and say that out loud.
Just go ahead and say, she was right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can turn that down. There we go. Yes, making our own luck. One of the things that I was talking with Ace just the other day, and he said one of the things that he loves about streaking is that when you are streaking, when you're doing activity consistently and continuing that activity, the problem is, just going back a little bit, the problem is that you start to think, is this making any difference? Mm-hmm. In the sense that because streaking is doing something laughably small consistently, the question then gets to, is it making any difference?
Right.
I actually thought that this morning when I was going through one of my streaks. I'm like, is this making any difference at all? And I had to look at it and say, it may not be making any difference at this moment. However, the consistency through time is what will make the difference because, and this is what Ace said and what you and I have talked about and what we've talked about as well, is when opportunity knocks, then I'm ready to open the door.
Exactly. So I would make, just to point this out, what you said, a solid statement here that everybody at some point is going to look at their streak and think, is this even making a difference? That's just so when that happens to you, know you're on the right course. Know that that's part of the process, that you look at it and you think, is this even making a difference?
How do I fight the monotony and the mundaneness, though, of that sometimes? You know, sometimes it's such a small thing. It's such a...
That's the beauty of the small thing, is that I don't think you have to fight the monotony. I think we recognize that monotony sometimes is a part of our life, mm-hmm. and you do the small thing, mm-hmm. and you keep doing the small thing.
So as we talk about people who are lucky, who we consider lucky, and maybe I introduced that a little bit incorrectly. We're not talking about people who are lucky. What I wanted to say was more, when I look at other people, I sometimes think they're lucky.
Well, and I think sometimes people say that. Like I read an article that said a lot of times when you ask people about their success, they say one of two things, or maybe sometimes both of them. They say, well, I worked my tail end off. Uh-huh. Or they say, I got really lucky. And so sometimes people will say that and we're like, oh, they just got lucky.
Is there some amount of serendipity, though, that comes along with opportunities?
Yes. I'm going to say that solidly.
Solidly, yes, period.
I think luck is a real thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes we get lucky.
I think it's a great convergence of things. As we look in the past at different areas that... so in my mind pops Steve Jobs, right? Mm-hmm. He came at a great convergence of time where the personal computer was just coming up, and also all of the different infrastructure that was needed in order to support a personal computer in the home was coming at the same time. And he worked really hard. I mean, we can't deny that he worked really hard, and Bill Gates worked really hard. There was a great convergence of events, though, that happened. You look back at Henry Ford, same thing, a great convergence of event. And there were individuals at that point in time where they took advantage of the opportunity.
Exactly.
And the question is, one, how did they recognize it was an opportunity? How do you even know it's an opportunity? How do you even know you have a door on which opportunity can knock?
Exactly.
'Cause-
And I feel like there's a little bit of two things that you're talking about that in my mind I separate out. So there's a situation, like you said, with Steve Jobs, that there's a convergence of events. So time all lines up and there becomes an opportunity.
Do you know what it reminds me of? The Dark Crystal, when all the planets aligned and it came.
That is a movie, like a major blast from the past.
Yep.
Totally weird movie.
I know. It's
The Dark Crystal.
I know.
Pulled that one for way far back. Did you
there.
dust off the cobwebs before you brought that story out?
Oh, yeah. I
So
just think about it, though, the planetary aligning of
Yes.
stars and planets and everything else in order to have this. So in that sense, there is serendipity, that happens at that point.
A whole bunch of things aligned. And if you're in a position that you're in that alignment,
There.
you took advantage of it.
In order
But
to
it
get in that
wasn't-
alignment is significant, though.
But it wasn't that you necessarily did something to make those things align.
Mm-hmm.
You were just in the right place at the right time. And what we're going to talk about today, the ability to take advantage of that. I think that's important. Really quick, though, there's a second part that I think is actually pure luck. So, for example, what is her name? Annie Duke wrote a book called Thinking in Bets that I'm actually really excited to read about because we were on a podcast
With Eric Fisher.
Beyond
the To-Do List. And she was the episode just before ours.
We listened to one of her episodes. And Annie Duke was a professional poker player.
Uh-huh.
And so she wrote a book, Thinking in Bets, and she has a second book out as well. But she talks about how you can have a really crappy hand of poker and you can play it and you can win just because you got lucky. In my mind, that's different than events lining up and being in a place to take an opportunity of it. That one purely just everyone else randomly got a really crappy hand and your crappy hand was a little better than theirs. Does that make sense? So to me, there is this thing that's just this random luck. And what she talks about thinking in bets is that to not have the illusion that because that happened one time, that you necessarily made the right decision. There are times that things just got lucky.
I want to visit something that you said just prior to Annie Duke talking about that, which was we're talking about everything in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, and this is what I believe streaking does, is when everything is aligned, you have done what you've needed to do to be in alignment with it.
Yep.
You've done the studies, you've done the consistency, you've been reading, you've been writing, you've been looking at design elements, you've been doing all the things consistently that you've done. And when it comes in alignment, now you have the door on which opportunity can knock. Because if that door is not there, opportunity can't knock on it.
Or if you don't recognize it, it could be there and you could just blow right past it and not even see it's there.
I think that's one of the problems, too, is that opportunity does not always present itself with flashing lights and bright and loud sirens.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't say, I'm here, I'm ready for you. It is sometimes a subtle knock. It's just a very, very simple, subtle knock. And unless I'm truly aligned or focused, it's like a camera lens. When I look at a camera lens, you could be just slightly out of focus and you know something's wrong. You know something's not quite right with it. However, you're not really sure. But when you bring it into focus and it's sharp focus, now you can see it. And I believe that's what streaking does, is it's focusing your lens. It's grinding it down so it's perfect in its illumination or its magnification of what it is that you're looking at.
Yep. I completely agree.
I'm just going off. It looked like you had a different thought, though.
Well,
that you were going
because
down.
one of the things in one of the articles I read, How to Make Your Own Luck, the first thing that he talked about was mastering your technique.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that beginner's luck is overrated.
I think it's totally overrated.
Not that it doesn't exist. I think it does exist, but he says the reason we tell
And what's the article you're going from? Did we already talk about what it was?
No, this one is called How to Make Your Own Luck by Jake Wilder. And he talks about it is possible to randomly challenge the existing convention and make an immediate impact. In other words, you can have this beginner's luck. You just throw, you're the first you're just barely into an industry and you make a decision and everything turns out perfectly. But he said
That's got to be rare, though. I mean,
that's
that has
what he
got to be
said.
like
He goes,
the smallest, tiniest portion of the of opportunity out there.
he talks about, he says, there's plenty of stories where a newcomer arrives on a scene to disrupt the established industry. But the reason we sensationalize these stories often is because they are so rare. And I also think because we like that. We like the idea that we could just show up and look, everything worked out, because it would be easy. It would be nice. It would be great. I've also thought, though, that in some ways, I'm like, that would also be a lot of pressure for those people. There is something to be said about the confidence that we have inside ourselves when we've worked hard for something, when we've gone through the experiences of the bumps, the bruises, the falling down, the having to pick ourselves back up, and the things that we've learned through going through that process, that then when the big event happens, or like you've said, when opportunity knocks, we can go through that door with a level of confidence in ourselves versus just, that beginner's luck that something just happened. And that can be, I think, a bit of pressure.
What I hear you saying as well is that if you have been consistently streaking on particular activities that you need to do, you've built strength through time.
Yes.
It's not that the thing itself has become easier, but your strength to be able to handle it has become greater. And what I hear is that when luck is part of the equation, and I'm talking about just pure stupid, just luck. That can be difficult as well, because you don't have the strength necessary to carry it through, because you haven't built that strength. You don't know what brought it down. And I think you start to fight imposter syndrome.
I would agree.
Because I'm an imposter here. I didn't really do this. Someone
and why
else
do you
did,
feel
or
that
I'd
way?
be able to take advantage of it. It wasn't something that I was actually moving forward with.
Yes, because of what you said, you don't totally know how you got there. You kind of know you got lucky. And so you don't have that experience to know, oh, this worked, this didn't. Mm-hmm. And so even as you're talking about your streaks, or we had one of our big streakers this last week told us that he lost a streak, 532 days strong.
Ooh, that one hurt too. We're sorry, Dave. We know. And we mourned with him with that streak, 532 days. And we asked him what happened. And it was just a busy day, and things got away from him, and didn't check the streak sheet at the end of the day. It happens to all of us.
It does. And that's what I guess I'm saying, is that you build strength through those experiences, because you look back, and this is what he said. He goes, I've started it up again, but I did evaluate. I looked at it and said, is this what I want to keep doing? And how do I keep it going to continue the growth that I've had? And that's what he said, is he goes, I'm not where I want to be, but I can see the growth of what this streak is doing for me.
And he said that no one can take that from me.
Yeah.
No one can take that strength from him. And I believe that is where I no longer feel like an imposter. I no longer feel like I'm not prepared. I have been building this strength through time and have the strength and ability to do it again.
Yep.
So streakers, that's really what you're looking at. When you talk about streaking, the process by which you make streaks successful, you are looking at building something through time to a point where it is very strong. It's one strand at a time, but as those strands weave together, it becomes a very strong rope.
And my favorite thing is oftentimes we talk about these things, which in my mind are the what we need to do. So like, how do you create your own luck, or how do you take advantage of success? Well, you master your technique. That's the what. I love that for me, streaking has become the how. Okay, I know what I need to do. How do I do that? Mm-hmm. How do I master my technique? And a lot of times, like at the beginning of the year or certain times in life where we're like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to rewrite my whole life and I'm going to do it perfectly and I'm motivated and I'm on top of it and I'm going to make it happen this time. And we do that, and I love those times of motivation, but they ebb and flow. I don't stay that motivated all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I love that streaking gives me that place to that thing to do the how, even when that motivation leaves me for a little while. Mm-hmm. And I'm back to being like,
I agree. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about a couple of different times in my own life when I've lost motivation. And when I've lost that motivation without streaking, it has been a real doldrum. I mean, it has been calm on the seas. My ship has not been moving at all. and it can be depressing. It can be difficult. And I can think that everyone else is lucky but me.
Right.
However, after I started streaking in some of the different areas, for example, one area that I've been streaking and is writing at least one sentence daily. You pointed out last night when we were talking about making your own luck, how many opportunities I've had, opportunity comes knocking, to write in different, not only the streaking book with you, however, also in many different situations.
Many different situations.
I've been asked to write or to speak because of something I've been writing. I remember so I write a weekly email. And in this weekly email, it's just an article. It's insights that I've gained throughout the week. And I send it out to a group of about 100 people. I remember that from that email, I had told a particular story in the email. And from that, it was probably 2 months later, so a gentleman called me and he said, "Hey, I loved the story you told. It was 2 months ago. Will you come and speak and tell that story live and in person?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." That was 2 months ago.
Right.
I mean, I'd written every week since then past that. However, because I had been consistently writing, when the opportunity knocked, I could open the door. I recognized it was an opportunity and I opened the door. I think the same was true with you when you did your keynote the other morning you had 100 people online, and you noticed that you had an opportunity, because remember you were not going to take advantage of that opportunity.
Life was busy and I didn't know if I had the time, but gratefully I did take the time, and it ended up being an amazing experience personally for me. And I think it's amazing as we talk about your writing streak of write one sentence a day.
Nice deflection. Way to bring it back. I saw that.
Well, that's one of that streak particularly is a foundational streak in the methodology to me, because it was because of that streak that we realized that a streak needed to be laughably simple. The actual word laughable comes from the experience of sharing that streak with people publicly and having somebody actually laugh.
So you know how we talk about how you have to suspend disbelief in order to be able to know whether or not, not to know whether or not, but you have to suspend disbelief to get to the point where you can actually believe that a streak works, right? You know how we've talked about that? As we talk about luck and as we talk about opportunities that knock at the door, I think when a person turns the corner on streaking, on doing the laughably simple thing, is when the first opportunity presents itself. What do you think? That's my hypothesis that I'm going with right now.
So your hypothesis is so you believe that, and when you mean turn the corner, you mean when they...
I don't believe it until an opportunity happens. I can't believe that this laughably small thing is actually going to make any difference at all in my life. But I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it because you said it would. And you can see other people's success. But for whatever reason, we don't believe their success. We don't believe anyone else's success until we've experienced it ourselves. That's my hypothesis. What's your reaction on that?
I'm thinking about that. I definitely agree that when we've done it enough that some kind of experience comes along, that we start to think, okay, this really works. I'm trying to think if that experience has to be an external experience from somebody else, or can it be an internal experience where you look back at your journal and you're like, wow, I'm actually doing this. Or you look back at Duolingo and you think, oh, wow, I've really been doing this for this many days. Is that part of that opportunity? Or is it something that comes along? I guess the thing that I've been thinking about too is how often opportunity presents itself sometimes by us volunteering. How often do we volunteer? And because of that...
Wouldn't that be a great streak? Volunteer at least one time monthly, or volunteer at least one time weekly, if that's simple enough for you.
Right.
Where it's
but
just, I'm going to
volunteering
volunteer
could
to do
be,
something.
Oftentimes we look at volunteering as volunteering for like a nonprofit organization. But I'm just talking about volunteering to, like, you see a need and you volunteer to be the person to take care of that need, whether that's at work or at church or with your friends or walking down the street. That, to me, just that kind of volunteering, that you see something and you say, oh, I'm going to give it to you. We have so many things I want to talk about this month on the podcast, because that was one of the ones that Zig Ziglar said, is that you can get anything you want if you're willing to help everyone else get what they want. I think I butchered that quote.
No, that was beautiful. I thought that was a beautiful quote.
But that was one of
the
his
things I think about is
foundational
you help your brother across the lake. Behold, there you are also.
Right. And
Help
these
your
are
brother get his boat across the lake. There you are also. I think it's a Hindu proverb that I absolutely love.
yes.
And is that part of luck? I think so. I think
That's
all
what-
those things.
That's what Zig Ziglar believed. His whole career was built on the belief that you can get where you want to go by helping other people get where they want to go.
I think that when people turn the corner, you asked if it was extrinsic or intrinsic. I think it's when they believe in themselves. Now, that may be from something extrinsic that happens, but even like you said, if you have something lucky happen to you and you don't feel like you had anything to do with it and it's not internal, you're not going to believe it.
No.
And therefore, you must build that internal strength before you actually believe that you're going to move forward. That's why streaking is so significant and successful, is because you build up that belief.
And that strength. That's what I loved. When you break a streak, you unintentionally, you build strength. When you question, is this even making a difference? You build strength. When you do the laughably simple and a little bit more, you build strength. When you do simply the laughably simple, because you're having a day, you're still building strength in all of those
you're
processes.
having a day.
You're having a day. You're building strength.
We are excited to be talking with you this month about luck. We're going to refer to these articles, and we'll also put those in some of the show notes. How to Make Your Own Luck by Jake Wilder, and then also
How to Create Your Own Luck by Dave Bailey. And we've got a few others, too, that we're going to be talking about throughout
And
the
I'd
month.
love to talk just a little bit more about Annie Duke and what she has as far as, what is it, life bets or making bets or gambling or those type of things. Not how to gamble.
Thinking in bets.
Okay, thank you.
You butchered that a little bit.
I totally butchered that. We would love to hear how you are lucky or how you've seen luck in your life work out. In other words, what have you done consistently that all of a sudden has created or given you view of an opportunity? Let us know at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at streakingmastery.com.
Or Jamie, Jami, at streakingmastery.com.
In the interim, if you would like to visit our website, do so and leave us a note there. Sign up for it. We're going to have a newsletter that's going to start coming out as far as streaking is concerned. The streaking momentum is really building. If you're new to our community, welcome. We're glad to have you. I'm Jeff. That's Jamie. And we're going to be with you every single week. We're here. We haven't made it an official streak, but we're with you every single week usually we publish on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So
we can talk about all things streaking.
All things streaking. We talk about the methodology of streaking and then also how to apply it. That's what we're doing this month and every month before this and every month after, is how do you apply streaking to make your life what you want it to be and to really become
who you want to be.
So until we talk again,
keep streaking.
Big or go home, they say, but I can show you a simpler way. It's the small and simple things that make the life we live worth living. Among the rush, do one push up, become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping